Thank you for joining me today on the Who God Says podcast. I am your host and Kingdom Ambassador, Ty Chandra. Hi. Today we have a special guest. She is a multi-generational pastor. Had to throw that one in there. And also an author, Brenda Seefeldt of Amodea. Hey!
Hey, I think multi-generational means I'm just old.
No, that means you can reach the masses. That means you can reach multi-generational.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. That is my heart for sure.
See, how are you doing?
I am glad to be here with you.
Did you like that little tidbit I added in?
Caught me off guard, and I'm okay with that too. Now I'm ready for the other ones you have for me.
Ooh, well, it's not a, I don't think I'll catch you off guard too much. I mean, I was just reading your story. First of all, being multi-generational, going through all those teenagers. You had to have the Lord with you for that. Because oh my God. Teenagers give me the blues. Yeah.
Oh, they're so fabulous.
But I want to know, like, where did you grow up? And did you grow up in a religious household?
I did. I grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in a really good two-parent Christian family household. I'm the oldest I have a sister and two brothers, and pretty normal middle class Lutheran church upbringing. But I didn't become a Christian myself till I was 15, despite
Oh,
having a lot planted into me. I was 15 when I made a decision for myself about my faith, and it was a black and white decision for me. I definitely, when I meant it, when I made it, I meant it.
and what drove you to make that decision? Like, what was the deciding factor?
Despite a good upbringing, I was a very depressed, angsty teenager, and I used to be back in the 70s. So I mean, I could just see the memes about my life right now, but this is back in the 70s, and I didn't know all this stuff back then,
Yeah.
So, suicidal ideation, just all the darkness. And I was just in a really dark place for 7th through 9th grade. In 10th grade year, just a long story. We changed churches, and I was forced to go on a retreat, literally forced to go on a retreat with this new church. The youth group did not like me. I don't think I was pleasant, but they also were not nice to outsiders, and I was definitely dark, angsty. But it was on this retreat where I met some other teenagers, and it was, I will never, ever, ever, ever forget this moment. It was a 3-hour drive, and I got out of that church van with 3 hours of, I didn't want to be here, mad at my parents, mad at the world, mad at a God I didn't believe in, mad at the teenagers in the van with me. And these 3 beautiful girls my age greeted me at the van door and said, "Hi, I'm Tony. I'm Marie. I'm Gina. Going to come hang out with us." And I have never, and I mean this, in my life, I've had beautiful girls want to hang out with me. And I spent every minute with them.
Wow.
It was so great being accepted by the pretty girls. And then that night when, that 2 nights later on Saturday, it was Friday, Saturday, I don't even know if it was a guy or female or who spoke that night. I don't know who the retreat speaker was. I was so out of it. I didn't care. But when these girls told me that Jesus loved me, I believed it.
Wow.
I believed it for the first time. And that just caused a cascading break of my pain. And I cried for several hours. I'm crying right now again.
Oh,
This is so long
I'm
ago now.
sorry. See, I said
No,
I
it's
wasn't going to cut you off
but
guard,
it's
and I
just
did it.
this. It's just so personal. When God told me He loved me, it just broke so much pain, and it changed my life forever. I came home from that retreat, and I will never forget my parents looking out. I got dropped off. My parents looked out the kitchen window and saw light inside of me. And I know I'd been worrying them, but how am I going to break it? I'm so mad,
Yeah.
but they saw that light. They saw that I was changed, and I was changed.
Yeah.
And then I was on the other side where I was just that Jesus freak of a teenager in high school. Then, everybody had to know about what happened to me. Everybody had to know about Jesus. Senior year of high school, I was leading Bible studies because everybody had to know about Jesus. And that's where I've been ever since.
Yeah. So beautiful. Oh, thank you for sharing that. See, I guess I did catch you off guard. I wasn't sure.
It's the story that makes me a real story makes me. I cannot unsee the fact that I'm loved.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful how your parents can see the light in you. It's beautiful when other people can see the light, especially when you can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
That part for me was it was mind blowing. I just had people constantly telling me things about myself, and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. Okay.
That's like working with teenagers, by the way, because you see. So I've been a youth pastor for over 40 years, people. So when she says multi-generational, means decades worth here. But I can see into teenagers and see how God loves them and made them so unique and wonderful. And when you're in adolescence, I mean, everything is changing, right? You've gone through a change of friends at least once. Your body is betraying you right and left. Your parents
Right.
are strange animals who say they love you, but you don't know because they're so strange. And now you get this whole social media thing going on. And I can see through all this chaos and still see how God has made each person so wonderful. And I can repeat that 1,000 times
Wow.
and it'll catch on eventually, but that's a lot of a job of being a youth pastor is just seeing with discernment through the Holy Spirit what I see into this one person's life.
Now you got me tearing. That ain't right. You're not right. Oh, it's okay. Oh, yeah. I get a little bit emotional when I think about that. I think it's amazing for God to give you that gift to see the things, um, those little intimate details, because sometimes, and I'm no, not sometimes, most of the time, we need it. Even if it's random, we need somebody to tell us. I needed somebody to tell me.
Yeah.
Even
Yes,
though
we
I did
do.
not accept it at first, I didn't understand it, I didn't believe it, I still needed it. I needed someone to tell.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a strong, I keep telling parents, you need to get 5 adults in your kid's life. So these 5 adults are telling them the same stuff that you're telling them, but you're going to trust these 5 adults because you're asking them to tell your teen the very things that you want your teen to be.
Yeah.
And you need to trust these adults, whether it's, the youth pastor or your brother who's that crazy uncle, you got to just tell these 5 adults to invest in your teen's life so that everything that you say is repeated by somebody else and they might hear it from somebody else before they hear it from you.
Yeah.
But you have given them 5 adults to tell them this and it will stick. It'll get through.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think that's a great idea. It's a good way of looking at planting the seed and also building that support system around your child as well.
Mm-hmm.
Most teens don't feel like they have anyone, even though they may have their parents. They're like, I don't have anybody. So building
Parents are
that.
strange in adolescence, right?
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you're strange to your parents. Your parents. So yeah, it's real important for the parent to take this step because teens do desire older, wise adults in their lives because someone's got to tell them what's normal, and their
Yes.
body failing them in puberty. That's normal stuff. Someone's got to tell them this. At least an older, wiser person they will trust.
Yeah.
I mean, their own friends, they all betray each other. That's part of adolescent friendships, right? So they do want older, wiser adults, whether they say it or sometimes they just verbalize it, but they will cling to these people if you as a parent can choose them, you're going to give them the good ones.
Yeah.
You know, those saints in your church that your teen just seems to be drawn to, ask them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when it involves something that they like doing, like music or outreach or anything like that, especially when
Absolutely.
it involves things that they like doing. I think that's absolutely important.
Absolutely.
It's a great
Mm-hmm.
idea too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How did you make the decision to become a pastor?
Well, I was that crazy Jesus freak teenager in the late 70s, early 80s, and moved out of my home when I was 18. Went to a church, a new church. I moved 2 hours away. Got a new start, and this church I ended up at just saw something in me. But then again, all I was doing was talking about Jesus. Anyway, and they put me in charge of the junior high, which was 1981 here. And I loved it. I loved it. In fact, 3 of those boys in my group still talk to me today. And
Oh,
they're like 55, 54 years old. I mean, we still have a relationship. It was special for them. It was special for me. It was just a special situation. And then out of that, God called me, gave me a very clear vision, which has been very helpful to have such a clear call from God, because then like those first couple of years at this church with that group, and it was a lot of boys in it, it was so special that then you go out and you get your training and you go to school and you work in churches, and there are lots of men that don't want women in, leading, and all this stuff that's gone on for the last 40 years. I had such a good base to go with.
mhm.
And then I had a vision from God that I do not have doubt in, that
Wow.
has just kept me in it. And now it's my 43rd year,
Wow.
and I'm staying till I'm done.
What when you decided to become a pastor, and I know you kind of brought up like there are men who don't believe women should be leaders and things like that. What are some of the obstacles that you faced when you started walking in that calling?
Um, Again, just I want to say if it's naivety or calling, I just kept walking. I just knew what I had to do. And I was very blessed in the 80s. I had 2 really strong men in my life that opened a lot of doors for me when I was young.
Wow.
Um, Now, both of those men um, fell to scandal in 1990 at the same time. It was devastating for me. Um, but that also taught me a lot,
Yeah.
to see their lives and then see that duplicity in their lives,
Mhm.
and it taught me a lot about, do not be duplicitous. Don't let sin come into your life so that you cause this kind of harm to other people. So
Yeah.
that came also at a very early age for me. And then I just plugged in. And so when it became more difficult for me, probably more, I don't know, just longer, when I started realizing I didn't get some invitations to speak on some stages because I was a woman, or I
Mm.
did work for one pastor that was just difficult. Um, and I started to see it wasn't, first it was me, what's wrong with me? And then I started to see, and again, cause I had that first decade was so much was put into me, really
Yeah.
gave me that base. So I could start seeing, oh, this is not my problem. This is his problem.
Mm.
And so time to move on, you know, find myself in a good situation. And then, I was at one church for 25 years as a youth pastor.
Oh,
That
wow.
is crazy long to be a youth pastor in one church. But you do that because I had a good man over me.
Right.
Um, and, we had a great trusting relationship. And then a funny thing happens when you've been there that long. The parents are like, whatever you say, Brenda, whatever you say, you've earned the respect. I'm not going to question you. I'm not going to doubt you. You're going to do what with my kids? Okay. I trust you because
Wow.
I've just been there that long,
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Familiar, comfortable,
Yeah.
trusting. Yeah.
Trusted, respected.
Mhm.
Yeah. Didn't damage kids before them. I'm not going to damage their children,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's beautiful, especially from a mother's standpoint, where you can, especially, go ahead, y'all, go ahead, drop them off. That's beautiful. Drop them off. That's beautiful. I need my time. You going to Bible study? Go with me,
But then I'm going to
Sunday.
give them back to you to follow up on what I've taught them, by the way.
That's fine. We can talk.
Exactly. It's a partnership.
Yeah, we talk like my kids. I have an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old. So we talk after church every Sunday. We talk. We do a Bible study on Wednesday. So we talk so I can figure out like what their perspective is on the things that were taught and um how they received it. It's always a colorful moment with my 14-year-old. Always.
See,
Just
I wish
always.
every kid stayed 14 forever. Personally, I know nobody out there believes that for me, but I believe
You're
that's
the
the most
only one.
wonderful age. It's the most difficult age, but I don't have to live with 14-year-olds. I just think they are so inquisitive with the right questions. But I just want to tell you, Barna Research did this study. 99% of teens who take their faith into adulthood say it was their mother who taught them their faith.
Oh wow.
99%. So that's not me.
That's
That's you. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Hi everyone! Join the Kingdom Fanatics community. Get exclusive content, green room access with our guests, and more. Visit our website at whogodsays.com. Like and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate your love and support. To find all information on joining our community, being a guest on the show, donating on our PayPal donation page, and more, visit us at whogodsays.com. Now back to the show.
I do want to be a good influence. So, and
You
I
you
didn't
probably
have
are
that.
more than you realized, even because you have to live with them and they're monsters. I
Yeah.
get that. Um, but you are their connection to faith.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have that when I grew up. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I had in and out. Like my nanny would take me to church when I would go to her house. Um, but I didn't. My dad was Catholic, and I can only remember going to church with him twice in my whole life. He was Catholic. My grandmother is Baptist. My nana is Baptist, and I would go to church with them every so often. But I never had anything like just steady, and so it was just me by myself. I just decided, you know what? I'm going to choose Jesus. And if I chose wrong, then hey, what's the worst that can happen? I'll go to heaven.
Exactly. And that consistency is what your teens are seeing. And
Yeah.
that's what gives them that influence, that they could ask you questions.
Mhm.
There's conversations about it, and that consistency. Sometimes that's just what they need to say, this Jesus thing is the right thing. Cause
Yeah.
look at my mom. She's crazy too, but look at my mom. And that's the best message. They're free to ask questions, and they seeing your consistency, and you've given them good adults. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and God is faithful.
All the time. Yep. Yes. Oh my God. You're gonna have me really deep in thought with this. I want to talk about your vision. So you got clear vision from God on being in a pastoral role, or was it something else? Or if you're not comfortable with
Oh
talking
no,
about
it has been. I was with teenagers. I will say it has adjusted the last couple of years here.
Mhm.
Um, say in the pandemic, which of course adjusted everything.
Right.
I got laid off, and some of the parents of my teens came to my husband and I. My husband's a great, great worship leader. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. He's he was a rock and roll musician in the 70s, actually a punk rock musician in New York City. That whole club scene, he did not die of drugs, but most of his friends did. God saved him. He's now taken that music talent and he's just knows how to create quiet worship for the soul. It's just incredible. So he's great. And some of the parents of my teens came to us and said, we should start a church. And I'm like, I'm a youth pastor. No way. I work with teens, but these are the parents of my teens. Okay. Leave me in my soft spot. Right. So we talked about it. It's pandemic. What else are you going to do but talk about it? And I'm laid off. So we started a church in the pandemic. I didn't think was going to last past the pandemic. I thought it was just, I'm in, let's do this for a while. And 3.5 years later, we're still a church. We're a bit different. Of course, we're built for teens. We're built for parents. I'm just kind of a grown-up youth pastor. We're a bit different, but I love what we're doing. I love that we're a church. I love that we give to missions, that we are functioning as a church, but it's still built for teens. So, So that's why actually now my role is lead pastor, but I don't see as much different what I've been doing. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I have to raise my budget and I have to have a board, and all those other things.
The business side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. The parents reaching out to you in the pandemic. I guess because it was so much that was missing for a lot of people. It was just a lot of disconnect, a lot of loss. And I think that's amazing for them to reach out. You should start a church. What did you call the church?
Oh, it's called Larger Story Church. And this is the weirdness of it. I mean, I guess I'm in charge. Because you mentioned something, what the parents and the teens, because they were involved, I asked them too, of course, what they were missing was conversations. There was so much going on. George Floyd was going on. The world's upside down. Government can't be trusted. Yeah. They just wanted to have faith conversations together. Yeah. And so that was how, I can do this. We can start a church. John can lead worship. I don't have to worry about that. And we'll have these faith conversations together, and we would meet over Zoom because that's all we had at the time. Right. Yep. So we didn't live stream. We were just going to have these conversations together. And the parents requested to meet on Friday nights because they liked having their Sunday mornings slower as a family. Which is such a weird request. So we start, that's why I thought this wouldn't last past the pandemic, because you see some things there that, well, it has lasted because most of my people come in from across the United States. I don't have too many local people at my church because it turned out a lot of people could join in. Some are grown teens of mine. Some are people who've heard of us. Some, people have had church hurt and just can't go into a church building. But they'll come in through Zoom, or Sunday morning is too much trauma. They'll come in on a Friday night and sit and participate. And we still have conversations. The whole thing is conversations. We have this quiet worship that when you come in down on a Friday night, you kind of want quiet. You don't want the loud. I mean, there's a misnomer about Friday nights, but it's not the way it was in the 70s when Friday nights was what we lived for. There's too much crazy every day of the week now. Yeah. And so a Friday night, our worship is intentionally quiet. It brings you to a place of restoration and reflecting of the week. Yeah. Then we go into faith conversations for the night, and we cover good stuff. We cover deeply biblical stuff. We have teens talking, and we have older people talking. And people like it. So we're still a church. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a need there.
Yeah.
I know a lot of time in business, people say, oh, find a need that you can fulfill. But this is a little bit different. And the reason why it's a little bit different is because your heart posture was not business.
Right.
It was not business. So when you say, oh, it's a little bit weird, it's different, we don't do church on Friday, we do church, we don't do church on Sunday, we do church on a Friday. Church is just community.
Right.
So no matter what day of the week it is, church is community. The building, teaching, it's just community. And I think people have this misconception of, maybe it's not a misconception, it's just a repetitive practice. It's supposed to be one way.
Oh, see,
It's
yeah.
supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. It's supposed to be 9 a.m. and then in some places to 2 p.m.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's supposed to be that way. But church is not the building, church is community. And I think that if a lot of us start to look at it the way it's supposed to be looked at, then a lot of the practices would fall off.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be what it should be, the community, people making people whole, the camaraderie, the love that's being spread, people actually looking out for each other. If that was to happen, all of the rituals and the practices would just fall. But I think that the reason you're able to still be a church is because your heart posture was not on business. My heart posture was not on, well, I wonder how this would be able to succeed. I wonder how we would be able to profit from this. I wonder if this can grow into, oh, let's get a church building and maybe we'll have to change it and start opening up on
Oh,
Sundays,
yeah. Yeah.
things like that. Your heart posture was, hey, well, they're coming to me. I mean, I can do it. It's not like I can't do it. I've never been in a lead pastor role, but I can still do it. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And just having that willingness to serve, man, God is amazing. Because we don't even take account of, we have that willingness to serve until somebody is putting the light on and say, hey, if you would not have said yes to this, how many souls would be crying right now?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
I
Right.
commend you and I thank you.
I'm loving it. I'm loving being a pastor of this kind of church.
She said, I'm in charge.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Oh my gosh. I think it's amazing to have clear vision. I've been given vision, but I feel like it's not clear. I've been getting like pieces within the last maybe 5 years. I'll get like pieces of them, but and then I get frustrated because I'm like, how do I connect the dots? How do I weave that
Yeah.
in? When I
Yeah.
know I'm not supposed to connect the dots, but it's just me. I'm like, how can I connect the dots to this? How is A, B, and C going to come together?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little frustrating, but I'm glad you got clear vision.
That is, I know it's probably more on the rare side, but it has been my sustaining. It has been my sustaining through everything. I don't know what else to do in my life but be who I am, and that's as a pastor, and that is to work with teens. I don't know what else to be, and that has not changed. Now that I'm in my 60s, that has not changed.
But it is absolutely amazing. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
know certain things. Like, I know that there is, I guess it's a clear picture of what a complete thing is, but it's not, how do I get to that complete thing? You know what I'm saying? So that's the part for me. So I kind of hold on to, okay, I know that this is a promise from God. His promises never fail. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
then oh my God, sometimes I feel like I'm a pestering child because I'm like, you know how you keep asking your mom, well, can I go? Can I go? Well, can I go?
Absolutely.
I
Oh,
feel
yes.
like that sometimes. I feel like
Yes.
I'm a pestering child to God because it's like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Did I do it right? Should I do this? It's like that. I feel like I do.
let me teach a little bit that my church taught me. We did a conversation about the parable in Luke 18 about the unmerciful judge.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the widow who keeps coming back with the request, and the judge is unmerciful, is unjust. He doesn't have any, bother with this widow, but she keeps coming back and coming back. And we were studying this, and we had this great, great, great conversation. And some people were asking, like, is this widow bothering the judge? And this is what you're saying, right? Is this, you know, and then why would God make himself the character of the judge being unmerciful, you know, or the judge that is not going to do the right thing for the widow, but just continue to turn her away? But what we discovered, this is from them. This is not me teaching. This is their wisdom. Is the widow learned to come and bring her request back, and she got better and better at making the request until the judge finally had to say yes.
Yeah.
Like at first she just said, you know, I'm exaggerating, but you know, maybe judge, make this problem go away. Well, what kind of request is that? It's a heartfelt request. But when she came back for the 20th time, judge, this is the problem and this is going on and da 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 da. And she learned to refine her request through this process.
Yeah.
And in the end, the judge was never bothered. The judge and her formed a relationship.
Yeah.
In that, so that requesting grew the request to become what really was her heart request.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Okay. I'm still a pastor, but I get it.
Yes, but don't think you're pastoring. You are. The judge is delighted at you coming back all
Yeah.
the time with your same questions.
Yeah, my pastor told me that too. He was like, he said, no, you know, if your child was asking you for something that you knew, you know, let's say she was you had a pizza and your child was asking you about pizza, but you wanted to give it to her for dinner time. And she kept saying, "Oh, I think we should get pizza. Oh, I think we should get pizza." But you already have the pizza ready. You think that that child would feel like she's pestering you, or you would feel like the child is pestering if you already have the pizza ready for her. You're just waiting for the opportune time to give it to her because the pizza is for dinner time. The pizza is not for breakfast. It's not for lunch. It's not for a snack, but it's for dinner time. And that right there, it was like,
OMG. That's brilliant.
like, oh, okay, no problem. Then he get into, now how do you wait?
Yeah, that's a lifelong lesson. And it's not gotten that much easier for me, by the way.
That's just, we don't know how to wait. We assume we do.
Ooh, I'm done assuming. I know I'm not good at it. I understand it. I got wiser. Doesn't make it any easier though. It really doesn't.
Oh my God. But it's okay. I digress. So since you work with teens for so many years, what do you think is like the common thread? Like, what are some things that I'm not going to say issues, but something that teens are longing for? Like, what is a common thread that you see the younger generations are longing for when they are introduced to church or are repetitively coming to church and there's no, okay, I'm gonna tell you this. My fear is for my children, and like my brother's kids, they're really deep into church. Like they lead worship and everything. So my fear is that they're exposed to it and it becomes a repetitive just thing that we have to do, like a chore or something. And then there's no relationship behind it. There's no anything behind it. And then they go off and get lost. But I know the words say that they may stray, but they will come back. But I just have that in my mind, like it becomes repetitive and there's no relationship behind it. But what do you think is something that you've seen throughout your 40 years that is a common thread when dealing with teenagers?
It's one of the big steps of puberty is identity. Who am I? Why did God make me? Or why did a higher being make me? What can I manifest to be somebody? I mean, this is what adolescence is. The laws of the land protect you to figure this out. Now we have delayed adolescence, so we got 18, 19, 20-year-olds being arrested because they're making these mistakes older when they should have been making them younger. But that's this delayed adolescent problem, which wasn't in the 80s, but it is now. I mean, I've seen generations or decades change here, but this has not gone away. Our identity, and to have, again, these older, wiser adults tell you who you are. So I'm thinking of your nephews you're mentioning. They've been surrounded for years by adults saying, we recognize God's call on your life. You're on stage leading worship. We're giving you this identity that you are called by God. You're loved by God. We see you. You lead us into worship. This is all identity formation. Every teen needs to make an adult decision about their faith. Just like, again, the laws of the land protect them, just like they wear only, their wardrobe when they're 16 is not the wardrobe when they're 26. So we don't allow them to get tattoos when they're 16 because they're not going to be that way when they're 26. They have to make this adult decision. And this is just a part of spiritual formation. There may be a separation for a season, but in that, and this is normal. This thing is called deconstruction these days. But this has been happening since the 80s, as far as I know. It's just a normal step of spiritual formation. And this separation step is super scary for parents. But if they've gotten their identity from adults saying, we recognize God's call in your life. We recognize that God has set you apart. We recognize your leadership abilities. We recognize your musical abilities. We recognize your wisdom. We have entrusted you to influence us as adults. All of these things make the separation stage a whole lot quicker because their identity is just shaped by people of the faith. The more saints, again, in your kid's life, the more they see their identity through these saints' eyes than through TikTok. I mean, the human voices do outweigh everything. Now, social media, all the studies are in, and it's bad. The harm done that what do we call these tech giants that are making the billions? Those evil people. The harm has been done at our teenagers' expense. Now, thankfully, I am seeing, again, this is, like midway through my 5th decade, I'm seeing the teens reject social media. Like millennials were the pawns. These evil tech giants learned on them. And then the results came back pretty bad. There wasn't a news feed when they were 16, but there was a news feed when they were 30. These things that were created have really, really bad results. I am seeing reverberings of today's teens and younger getting sucked into social media, but going, woo, this is not healthy for me. I am going to turn this off. I'm putting this down. I have much more boundaries with it. They do. And I really believe this. The church is one of the few places, besides parents, who are the nags, of course, who are saying, you can put your phone down when you're in the building. When you're with us for church, you can put your phone down. And like, who's telling me to put my phone down? Nobody is. Because they're making money off of you, right?
Right.
But the church is saying, the church that says, here, put your phone in this basket for the next hour or so, the teens welcome that because who's telling them that? Because they see the harm that's been done to them already, and they just got into it. But the studies are in, so no, we're all aware. And the church can tell them to put their phone down. What a stinking gift. Can I say that? What a great gift that we're given, that the church can give to teens these days. It's one of the best ones besides adults to speak into them, to tell them that, because this is one of the few places that will tell teens the truth, I think.
Yeah.
Now there's,
And the ones that do.
there's authoritarian leadership in churches, and that's a problem. The authoritarian, you follow Jesus the way I tell you to follow Jesus. Don't question me. That's part of our church culture. I'm not talking about those kind of churches, because authoritarian churches don't allow for questions, and teens are full of questions.
Definitely.
But if we're not afraid of those questions, let them speak. Let us speak into their lives, please.
Right.
Starting and growing a business while dealing with your finances can be overwhelming and stressful. Emerald Services provides packages tailored to your business needs to help you mitigate taxes, stay compliant, plan for your future, and save money, so you can focus on being the creative, influential visionary that delivers your dreams to the world. Because what you focus on is what will multiply. Schedule your discovery call today to find out ways Emerald Services can benefit your life plan and your business plan. Visit emeraldserve.com or call 504-603-6059.
I want to ask you about your boys. You have 4 sons.
Oh, yes.
Why do you consider raising your sons your most bravest decision?
Well, I didn't give birth to them. So that's there's a story right there, right? But I just knew part of my calling. I just knew when I was young, I wasn't going to be able to have children. Never affected me. It just was part of my vision. I just knew this. Yeah. But in the early 90s, I met some pretty wonderful boys. They're unchurched, high risk boys, and they clung to me. I was always a pursuer of teens, so this was not unusual, but their attachment to me, I noticed, especially because they weren't churched, and they were like, why do they want me around their why do they want me around their drug corner? You know what I mean? Why they keep asking me to come here, and then they steal my keys so I can't leave. Jesus, what are you doing? This is really weird, but I noticed something really weird going on here. So, they had my heart. And, but all teenagers had my heart, but they had my heart. The change came, and this was the decision moment. This was the moment. And I'm probably going to cry again. I wasn't single at the time.
Yeah.
And, decided to start dating my husband, and that was on our deal with the boys. But then that's a whole story. I married him. When we got engaged, the first people we told were the boys, because they had my heart the most. And I was excited. I finally said yes to a proposal, and I was 33 and getting married. And this, I think I really prayed through. My church prayed through this with me too. I was at the church for 25 years. This was not a single decision. This was a church decision.
Yeah.
And my boys pulled me aside on this happy night when I made it public. And they said, we like John and all, but we'll think he'll be like every other stepfather and take you away from us.
Oh my God.
And I got home. I called up John. I said, we have a problem.
Oh.
How do we tell these boys that they've only known stepfathers who have taken away their moms, that you're not taking me away? And anyway, we adjusted. We had them be a part of our wedding. They gave me away, stuff like that. But
they had to give you away instead of him taking you away.
Yeah, exactly. You are part of this thing. You are.
Yeah.
And then in between engagement and wedding is when I had just another real vision from God. And God said, these boys don't need a pastor. They need a parent.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to treat them differently. They were still minors, and I was in and out of our home. Their parents were involved. I was really working with their parents for resolution and safety, but that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And then the interesting thing was when they got older, 18, 19, 20, the parents were done with them. That's kind of part of the culture. And they started calling John more than me. They started coming over to talk to John. perhaps they needed to know how to be a man,
Yeah.
and he was a
Mhm.
consistent man in their life.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they love me first. They love me most. I know that. But my sons are now in their early 40s. But John is who they
Yeah.
John is who they identify with. John is who they go to.
Yeah.
I'm first. I get all the phone calls and I get all the Mother's Day love. But John is their rock in their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
It's
it was
amazing.
brave because they've, I can say, there's a happy ending here. It has not been a long, happy story. It's gonna, we've had to overcome a lot of trauma. I think I'll keep their stories to themselves. I will just say that that two of them ended up in prison anyway, and so prison's been a part of my life for 25 years now. Never left them, never will leave them. But they're my sons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think brave has been the running theme. I mean, it takes bravery to even say, I'm going to give my life to Jesus. It takes bravery to step outside of yourself and see a vision and say, okay, well, I'm going to take this vision and I'm just going to ride all the way through to it. It takes bravery to stay in the church for 25 years as a youth pastor. Oh my God. It takes bravery to open a church in a pandemic. It takes bravery to take in 4 boys and to this day know that you love them so much that that love can still make you tear up when you made a decision to keep those boys. Like, it takes bravery to do those things. And thank you for your bravery because your story is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's real. But I am, I think now that they're in their early 40s, I think I'm done. I think we're through all the other stuff. So I think it's going to become better.
I have a calling to kids too. Again, I've seen a part of the picture. I haven't seen like the steps to it. Years ago, I told a friend of mine, I was like, I think I want to be a foster mom.
Oh,
And I
I
saw
love it.
this lady in the store and she actually was a social worker and she was like, she was having a conversation and I kind of overheard the conversation. And I was like, oh, I was thinking about being a foster mom. And she was like, you should be a foster mom. We need more foster parents. And that's where it stopped. In 2022, I lost a baby. And I was in a hospital with my dad and I lost the baby in the hospital. And I went to sleep and I saw a lot of little animals. Then I saw a lot of children and they started walking behind me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you following me? And I heard a voice say that you will be a mother of many. It will not be biological, but you will be a mother of many. And I'm like, okay, how is this supposed to be happening? How is this supposed to happen? Everybody that knows me know I'm a fun aunt, but I'm very stern. I'm the one who disciplines the kids. Like, I'm like, kids don't like me. Pretty much every niece, nephew, they're all scared of me until maybe 12 years old. They're all scared. They're like, I don't want to go by her house. So I'm like, now how am I going to be a mother of many when I don't think the kid's going to understand me because most kids are scared of me until they're older, like 12. So I was given a part of it. I even saw like a school, and I told my pastor that I saw a school. I've never been a teacher, so why am I seeing a school? So I see Like God will show me something, and it's like this is a part of something I got to get to. It's not like this is the steps.
Right.
And it's like, well, how is this supposed to be happening? But listening to you talk about your boys, it's like I'm kind of getting a little bit of comfort. It's not as scary saying I may have to take on kids that are not my kids and not, related to me. And so, because I'm not scared of what they may have been through. I don't want to add to
Okay.
anything they have been through.
Mhm.
And that's like my little thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, they are going to feel safe in your home. I'm just going to say, but they're not going to trust you for years. And they might not trust you until they've been placed back in their permanent home, whatever. So you're going to be taking in children who will feel safe because that sternness provides boundaries they've never had before.
Mhm.
But they will also learn to trust safety probably 5 years after they've left you.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to really, again, it's a brave decision we talked about. You're going to
Yeah.
get your heart hurt. But what you're giving these kids is safety and sternness. And that's a new gift.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. I think I need a little consoling on my own. Because that's, yeah, I don't want to add to anything. I just want to, if I'm going to add anything, I want to add encouragement. I want to add hope. I don't want to add anything negative at all. I don't want a kid to come to me and it's like, oh, it's just like any other house, which I know it wouldn't
It
be,
wouldn't
but
be right because of the safety involved. And this thing,
yeah,
they're probably not going to let you know this. So you're going to feel like you are adding to it, but you just gotta trust
yeah,
that this, giving them boundaries is giving them safety.
yeah,
And they're coming out of a situation where they have had no boundaries, which is why they're unsafe and can no longer live in their home.
yeah,
And they freak out over boundaries as they want them so badly. But to say they want boundaries means they have to betray their own mothers. And
mm,
that's really, really, really hard.
yeah,
So mothers get the brunt of it sometimes because they feel like to choose you, they have to betray their own
yeah,
mothers. And so you won't hear about it till they're 25 and they might say, thank you for 3 years of safety in your home. But then you may not ever get that. But you just have to know it's what you've given them.
yeah, yeah. Ooh, thank you for that. I needed that. I did. I needed that. But see, when you operate in your yes, those type of things happen. I needed that. You may not have known I needed it, but I did.
Okay.
I needed it. Thank you. I want to ask you, what do you believe is your purpose?
Oh boy. My purpose is really to show that this way of Jesus is the way of Jesus, and particularly to show it to teenagers.
Yeah.
Um, I that really hasn't changed. It's been my life. I don't know what else to do, so that must be my purpose.
That's a great purpose to have.
Oh, let me just add,
That's
and
good.
I've got a new one here. I'm a grandma now to six kids, because I got 6 grandchildren from my boys, and I've been with these babies from birth.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, this gives you a little bit of purpose. Now, I think this whole grandma lifestyle is absolutely wonderful. I never thought I'd have it. And grandmas definitely think their grandchildren, walk on air, and mine do. They're awful, but they also are wonderful. But this is the thing, and this is my purpose too. Just going into that, my grandbabies were born wanted
Yep.
and loved, and knew about the Jesus from the moment they were born.
Yep.
And that's different from what my boys had.
Yeah.
And so these grandbabies, I'm not parenting them. I am the grandma. I'm the fun one. I will not interfere with my boys' parenting. But to see these children grow up safe and wanted, when I know their own fathers didn't feel that way at that age, oh man, my goodness, that is awesome.
Oh, Grammy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything coming up that you want to let the audience know about, or where they can reach you?
Oh, I really do. I just published a Bible study. I want to brag about it. For those who are watching, there it is right here. I just got it. Just went out May 15th, and we're recording here at the end of May. My church encouraged me to put together what we've been talking about at our church, and it's called Trust Issues with God. And so here comes those brave decisions. And then, when life is unfair, which happens, as Christians, we're not exempt from pain, and life is unfair, and we feel like we don't know why God didn't deliver on his promises, and why did God allow this to happen? And God gets a lot of brunt of our anger, as he's okay with, which in the Bible study, he's okay with it. But we talk about what to do when life is unfair and to grow these trust issues. And this comes out of our conversations with our church. So this is on Amazon. It's a hard Bible study, let me just say. It's 4 weeks. It comes with a video. And you'll be studying over 125 Bible verses. So this is not one of those easy Bible studies. This is a workbook. There's pages and pages to do. Then there's a video to watch, and it's stuff, conversations to have with your people. It's a hard one, but this is what my church asked me to do. So you can get that on Amazon. My church is largerstorychurch.com, Friday nights on Zoom. Anybody's welcome, because you can Zoom in from anywhere, any time zone. We have someone from California, which absolutely amazes me that they come to church at 4 p.m. in California, but they love it. So you're invited. And then I write the story of my life and my kids over at bravester.com. There's that brave word again. I don't know if you knew that, but my writing site is bravester, as in hipster. So bravester.com is where you can find more about my writing. But the Bible study is really brand new, and it is a work of this church. So multi-generational wisdom, that the wisdom we got about that parable of the unmerciful judge is in there, because we had to work through some trust issues to get to understand why that judge is God when he's so mean. Or someone in my church called him the jerk. How could God be a jerk? That judge is a jerk. I'm like, okay, let's talk about this one. How can God be a jerk? Okay, we in the Bible study. Just it's wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Thank you for your story. Thank you for saying yes to the vision and carrying that through. I've learned a lot today, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the Who God Says podcast with your host and Kingdom Ambassador, Ty Chandra. Go to whogodsays.com to join the mailing list for episode premieres, upcoming guests, and more. Send in your questions to be a part of the show at whogodsays@gmail.com. And don't forget, join the Kingdom Fanatic community. Until next time, be blessed and also be a blessing.